Hello everyone, welcome to the last module of this Python for Actuaries series. And in this module, we will be covering the cash flow modeling and how to perform the sensitivity testing. And we will also touch upon the documentation. Basically, we call it doc strings within the model that you are going to create. So everything that we have learned so far, along with the actuarial knowledge of calculating the cash flows value and the sensitivity testing and the object oriented programming. So whatever we have covered so far in this project, we will be covering the entire knowledge and it is going to be super amazing project. So let's begin. First of all, I will open a blank notebook. This is the blank notebook I have created in this training 2 folder. Okay. And this is the data that I have. You can create your own data. So what I have created is, let's say that I have 10 years of cash flows. Okay. And these are the interest rates that is going on, or you can assume any interest rates, or you can just follow the any distribution. Okay, so these are my interest rates. This is the random interest rates I pick, and these are the random cash flows that my product generates, okay, over the next 10 years, right? So this is my data, and I am interested in calculating their best estimate liabilities, and this is the only data that I have. Pretty simple. Let me close this data. Now let's go to our blank notebook. Before creating our own model, we have to understand a lot of things. So let's first of all try to understand that, and then we will create our own class corresponding their methods within the VS Code. But right now, let's try to learn, understand some things over here within the Jupyter notebook. Always remember, whenever you are going to create any kind of project or any kind of model, it can only be happen within the VS Code. I mean, it is much preferable. Okay, but I personally like use VS Code, but in terms of understanding something and in terms of teaching or training someone, the Jupyter notebook is super useful to understand. That is why we are first of all starting with the Jupyter notebook to understand some of the concepts. Okay, let's try to begin now. So first of all, understand how to do the dictionary concatenation. Although we have already covered that, but let's try to do that. Let's say I am creating a blank dictionary by the name data. You can check their data type and you can see it is a dictionary. Super simple. Now, I am trying to create something where I will give, data with year, something that I have the interest rate, colon, int rate. So this is just the comments I am typing. So I will tell you what I'm trying to do. Cash flow with the CF, let's say. I am saying that within my dictionary, I will create a heading. Okay. Then within that heading, I will have their values. See, in terms of dictionary, there are two things. One is the key, and then there are corresponding values. So my key will be my year, and their corresponding values will be the interest rate and the cash flow. Make sense? So what I will do is, let's say I am saying data is 1, which means the year is 1. Just for your understanding, I am typing this, that I am creating a column by the value 1. Okay, data is 1, and within that I am saying I am creating one more dictionary, interest rate. Okay, interest rate is, let's say, 3%, right? And let's say cash flow is, let's say, 1000. Make sense? So if you try to look at data, now you see this is a dictionary, this is their key, this is the key, that is 1, this is the corresponding value. But within this value, this is the key, interest rate, and this is their value. This is the key, this is their value. So consider it like a nested dictionary, right? That nested dictionary means dictionary within a dictionary. But overall, this is my key, that is 1, which is year that I am telling you, and these are their corresponding values, which has interest rate and the cash flows. Make sense? I am saying dictionary concatenation, so it means I can add one more. Let's say data 2. Just copy this, yeah, copy and paste. So data is, let's say, 2. Okay, the interest rate is, let's say, 4%, and the cash flow is, let's say, 1200. 1200 makes sense. So now if I try to look at my data, that is how it looks like. And if you want to see it in a form of data frame, so let's try to take a look. Import pandas as pd, pd dot data frame. So that's how my data looks like. You see, this is my column heading that I am creating over here, and these are their corresponding values. Pretty simple. That is what we did so far. Okay, so you are now able to understand about the concept of dictionary concatenation. Your first concept is clear. Next is, let's try to understand about the concept of iter rows or iteration rows. It is basically, a method available within the data frame. It allows you to iterate over the rows of a data frame, like iterate, basically go again and again over the rows of the data. It will act like the index value pairs. What am I saying? It might go above your head. So let's try to understand it with the help of code. Okay, let's say I am creating a data frame pd dot let's try to read that Excel file that we already covered in the beginning, that this is my data. Okay, so let's pick this full file path. Okay, we have to pick this, right? pd dot read underscore Excel, and that's how we can read this. Okay, so this is my data frame. Pretty simple. We haven't done anything else. We have their index, that is 0, and these are their corresponding values. Year 1, interest rate 3%, cash flow 1000. Okay, index and their corresponding values. So what is this iter rows will do? Let's take a look. What am I saying? I will type df iter rows. Okay, trigger this. It is a generator object, so let's try to typecast it into a list. So I will type list, and within this bracket I will type this. Okay, so what I was saying, that iter rows function will technically iterate over the rows of a data frame in a form of index value pairs. This is my index. Okay, this is my index, and these are their values. Index values. So let's see over here. This is my index. Okay, x index, and these are their corresponding values. Let's call it y. Okay, so 0, and these are their corresponding values. 1, which is my index. You can see at 1 I have year 2, interest rate 4%, cash flow 1010. You see, at 1 index I have these values. So this is the logic of iter rows. I hope it is clear to all of you. Let's try to make it look better. I can see that every single element, this is a list, right? We can see in this list I have these two values. You can see comma is over here, then this is just one single value, right? So let's try to make it look much more aesthetic for you to understand. I will type, let's say, for index comma row in df dot iter rows. Okay, print index colon. I will show my index first of all, then I will show my, let's say, row, that is print row, and let's put one blank. Now you will be able to understand that I am doing the same thing. Df iter rows, every single element has two values within that. One is index, and then there are corresponding values. So basically x comma y, and I am calling it like index comma row, because first of all I will get my index, you can see, and these are their corresponding row values. Okay, so see, index is 0 as I written over here, string concatenation. Then I am saying my row is, okay, row colon, so this is just a string, and then putting the row, this row, makes sense. And in this row I have these values. This is just for making this blank over here, nothing else, this blank. Okay, so now you will be able to understand about the concept of iter rows, that it will give you two values for every single row. That is, one is the index and second is their corresponding values, whatever they are. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now let's try to understand about this row. So we have this row, right? So if I type row over here, row, so you see automatically it will pick the last values, because it is keep on running this loop, for loop, keep on running and running, and the last value is for the this one. where the year is 10, interest rate is 12%, and the cash flow is 1090. Okay, so we can see that. Now this row is technically a series, right? I can confirm that. You can type date type of this row. You see, it is a series. And we have covered in our data frame first module, if you remember, we started with, in the pandas module, we started with the series, then we covered about data frame. And we know that if I want to bring any value from the row, from the series, I have to type their uh, index name. So I will type row, okay, and I will type year, this year. You see, I will get 10 as my value. I will type row again and copy this, because Python is case sensitive. Copy this and paste it over there, and you see interest rate is 12%. It is 12%. Okay, makes sense. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now we are able to understand both of these things, that is iter rows and the concatenation. Let's try to combine both of these concepts. This will be super useful, because when we will create our VS Code model, then we will create it very quickly if you are able to understand about the iter rows, concatenation, creating the function. So let's say I will type for index comma row in df dot iter rows, okay, colon. So I will type, let's say my year will be row of year. Pretty clear? We have learned this over there, that the row of year, so that I can get my value, every single value, row of year. My interest rate will be row, and this interest rate. Pretty simple, right? But this interest rate looks pretty weird. Let's try to round it to three decimal places. So what I will do is I will type just round, same like Excel, round, this is the value, comma 3, that I am rounding the value to the 3 decimal places. And the last is, let's say, cash flow. Cash flow will be row, and this cash flow. Pretty simple. Let's trigger this. Done. So now if you check the value of year, because now we have saved the value, so let's check it. It will be 10. Why it is 10? Because you see, there are 10 years, right? It will keep on looping again and again, and the values will keep on overwriting. So the last value of year will be 10, last value of interest rate will be 12%, and the last value of cash flow will be 1090. We can confirm that from here as well. But I need the data of all of them, right? I need the data of all of them. So what I will do, using the dictionary concatenation, I will save those values. That is why we have learned this concept at the beginning, that you can keep on you can give your year, interest rate, cash flow values, and using the data concatenation, I can keep on saving those values. That is what I will do now. Okay. So let's try to see that. Let's say I have a data which is completely blank, right? It is a dictionary, we all have covered. Let's create a function, def add entry. Let's call it add entry. And what I need is, I need the year, I need interest rate, let's say, and I need the cash flow. That is, these are the 3 parameters that I need from someone. Make sense? What I will do, when someone will give me these 3 values, I will add like this, right? This is a dictionary, and within the dictionary I am creating a heading, that is year. What I will do with this year, I am creating one more key within that by the name interest rate, and within that I will save this interest rate. Make sense? And I will create one more, let's say, cash flow, and within that I will save this cash flow value. Okay, do not get confused between this cash flow and this cash flow. This is just the index, basically key name that I am creating, and this is the value, which is this. Okay, this cash flow is this cash flow. I hope it is clear. So I am saving the values in a dictionary, because with the help of dictionary I can concatenate them, and then in the end I will just return the data. Pretty simple. We have done this, the function that I have created. Now I will run this same command again. Copy this, paste it over here. Okay, I have my year, interest rate and cash flows. Year, interest rate and cash flows, these are super ready. I will save these results in this add entry function that I am creating. Pretty simple. Year, interest rate and cash flow. Make sense? So what will happen when I trigger this? First of all, try to understand that thing. Index comma row. Index will be what now? 0. We all know that. In case of a row, we have year is equal to 1, interest rate is equal to 3%, cash flow is equal to 1000. And that is something we are grabbing them over here step by step for the first value, for the first index. Make sense? When these three values we have already, then I am saying that I am creating a new variable by the name results, and within that results I am triggering a method, I'm triggering a function that I have created over there, def entry, and which need three parameters: year, interest rate, cash flows. I have the year, I have the interest rate, I have the cash flow. Make sense? And it will keep on running again and again up to the end, because this is a for loop. So let's trigger this. Okay, done. Now if I check the value of results, I have the entire values. 1, this is my key, these are their corresponding values. 2, this is a key, these are their corresponding values, and so on. That is what we did in the beginning, just to tell you what is going on, that when the first loop will trigger, it will save this result. When the second loop will trigger, it will save this result, right? This is what is going on. That is something I did over here manually, but over here we just did in just 2-3 lines, nothing else. Okay, so I hope that up to this point it is clear. Make sense? Now I will create whatever we have covered so far in a form of a model. Okay, so what I will do is, let's create a VS Code file. Open with code. Let's create a blank file now. Okay, I am in this training 2 folder, and I will type, let's say, project2.py. Make sense? project2.py. And this is just a blank VS Code file, and you can see it is created over there for us. Right now it is 0 KB because we haven't written anything. So let's create a class. First of all, let's import pandas as PD. Okay, done. Let's create a class. Class will always be created in the form of Pascal case, right? So I will create a class by the name, let's say, cash flow model. Cash flow model, right? I have created a class. Okay, let's create our instructor, that is def __ init __. Make sense? And within that I will type self, that we have covered about what is this what is self and what is init. Init is a constructor which will automatically trigger whenever you create the object out of any class. Self is object technically. So I want that every single time whenever someone will trigger this, it will automatically create the data. Data is just a blank dictionary. That is what we did in this over there as well. That when I create my model, I will create first of all a blank data. Make sense? Because then within this data I will save my results. So I must have this placeholder over here. Otherwise, if I don't create this and it will trigger this, then it will gives me an error that what is data, right? If you remember in our for loops class, I have covered when we were doing the summation of the entire values, or the multiplication factorial we call it. So that is why I have to create the placeholder, that I am telling my Python that data is a parameter which is technically a dictionary, although it is blank right now, but still I am creating it because I will keep on adding the stuff, the results. Okay, so same thing over here, that I am creating a blank dictionary by the name data. Make sense? Okay, so first constructor is ready. Let's add the function, same function that I wanted to add, this one. Copy paste. I am creating a method. We call it method over here, okay, because we are creating this within the class. So we have covered about the difference between function and method, but I am just using it interchangeably, but you all know the difference. But in case of actuarial domain, no one is going to ask you what is the difference between function and method. I mean, this is pretty useless. We are not the software engineers or hardcore programmers of computer engineering, but still it is good to have this kind of knowledge as well. Okay, so just remove this. I am creating a method add entry, and I am saying that we will save. First of all, I have to type this self. Whenever you create any method, you have to type self, because that self is technically a object that you are passing. So self, comma, then I need three parameters, that is year, interest rate, and the cash flow. So what I will do with this is I will self dot data, and within this data I will save my year, this year that I will give. And what I will do with this year, I am creating a dictionary, and interest rate colon, this is the key, and the value will be this interest rate, comma, cash flow, sorry, cash flow, cash flow will, cash flow, my cash flow will be this cash flow. Okay, so you see, when I click over here, you see in the VS Code this functionality is available, which is super useful for you to understand. So that this cash flow is this cash flow, this interest rate is this interest rate. This is just a string that I am creating, right, which is a in the form of a dictionary. So we are doing the concatenation. Okay, our method is ready by the name add entry that I will use. Let's create one more method, that is load data from Excel. Always remember that whenever we create any methods, it has to be in the form of snake case that I have covered. Okay, so I technically need, first of all, I will type self and the file name. I need two variable. I need just one parameter within this method. That is the name of the file path basically. Okay. So what I will do with that file path, I will create their data frame. That is why I have imported this pandas as PD. Okay. So I will type df is equal to pd dot that is read underscore Excel. What I will read is I will read the file name. Make sense? I will read the file name. What I will do with that file name? So I have converted it into a data frame, and then I will do the iter rows. So I will type for index comma row in df dot iter rows colon. What I will do? First of all, I will save the year. Year will be row of year. Makes sense? Row of year. And then I will save the interest rate, interest underscore rate. That will be row of interest rate. And the last is, let's say, cash flow. That will be row of cash flow. Make sense? Up to this point it is clear. Then what I will do is I will trigger my function, that is self dot add entry, this function that I have created, and within that I have to pass the year, interest rate, and cash flow. Make sense? This year is this year, you can see this interest rate is this cash flow is this. But there is one point that I wanted to cover. This year is this one. Okay, year, interest rate, cash flow, and I have covered it earlier as well that Python is case sensitive. Okay, so this year is technically this year. Otherwise, you know what, you can even make it more dynamics, that okay, df dot columns, then you have the list of the columns as well. So for example, if I go over there, So we have the df, right? And I can check the df dot columns. Then you can see df dot columns. And if I type df dot columns 0, so you see year. So instead of typing year over here, okay, instead of typing year over there, you can just type df dot columns 0, which will make it more dynamic. Okay, so that is something I wanted to cover, that you can type this, which is, or you can type this one, I will say more preferable. Makes sense, because you don't know that next time when you will receive your file, whether it is in the same format or not. I am assuming that okay, it will be in the same format. Okay, otherwise if it is not in the same format, then every single time you have to make some changes within your code itself. Make sense? Okay, so that is just for your understanding. So we have this year, we have this interest rate, you can see same, case sensitive. So C capital, then there is a space, then F capital, C capital space F capital. Make sense? So you have created this cash flow class, and within that you created your constructor, then you created the function, then you are saying that you will load your Excel file and put all the values. But you haven't done the, basically did the calculation for calculating the best estimate liabilities, right? How to calculate my values at time 0 of all these different cash flows of different time period with different interest rates, right? For that I have to create one more method. But before creating it over here, let's try to understand it over here within my Jupyter notebook. For your understanding, then we will create this within our VS Code. Okay, so what I will do is, okay, so I have my results ready, right? These were my results that we did over there. Make sense? You can check the data type. These are dictionary that we all know. Okay, now we have covered about different methods within the dictionary, that is keys. It will gives you the keys 1 2 3 4 up to 10. Okay, these are my years. Then I have keys, then we have values, and you can see these are their corresponding values. Or you can just type results dot items. It will gives you both what should I say, keys as well as values, right? That is something we have covered in our dictionary lecture in detail. Keys, values, key, value. Okay, up to this point it is clear. Just to show you more aesthetically, so let's say for x comma y in results dot items, print x, print y, print blank, right? X is my key, these are their corresponding values. Make sense? This is something I written in this format, just to show you in a more aesthetic manner. Okay, now I have to calculate my present value technically. These are my cash flows, I have the interest rates, and I have the time period with me. Make sense? Let's create the present value 0, just a placeholder value I am creating. I'm saying for year comma entry in results dot items. These are my results dot item, key and the values. So key is my year, which is this. Entry is my these results, which is in itself a dictionary. We all know, right? Okay. So this entry is a dictionary in itself. So I will type that interest rate will be entry, this interest rate. Make sense? Then my cash flow will be entry, because entry is in itself a dictionary. You can see x comma y, basically this is my what I written over here. Same thing for x comma y for year comma entry. Year is my x, you can see this, and entry is my this dictionary, which is in itself a dictionary. Key is interest rate, this is their value. Cash flow is again a key, and this is their value. Same thing I am doing over there. So I am just extracting the value of cash flow. Cash flow. Make sense? So I have the interest rate value, I have the cash flow value, and I have the, I know about the year as well. Now I have to calculate the present value. Present value is equal to present value plus cash flow. This cash flow I have created divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power year. To the power year. Make sense? Let's put it in more bracket over like this. You can type it like this. So what is going on? That so see carefully. Present value is 0. Make sense? First of all, when this loop will trigger, year number 1 will trigger, which has 3% interest rate and the cash flow of 1000. Make sense? So what will happen? This present value is 0. 0 plus 1000 divided by 1 plus I. 1 plus 0.03 to the power 1. Basically 100 divided by 1.03 because my cash flow is at time 1. Make sense? Then it will go again. Then it will calculate present value as, which is currently 100 by 1.03. Then the next cash flow, and same concept will keep on repeating, and it will technically in the end gives you the final value, right? So let's say now if I check the value of my present value, you see 6856.99 something, whatever. I have to follow the same concept within my VS Code itself. So what I will do, I will create a function, or let's call it method. Okay, method calculate present underscore value. Makes sense? Self. It is something I have to always give. Calculate present value. So what I will do, same thing. Just copy this. Make sure the indexation is correct. So present value is 0. Then I am saying for year comma entry in, instead of typing this results over there, let's type self dot data, because I have saved my results within the data itself. Make sense? Over here, self dot data dot items. Okay, self dot data dot items. Then my interest rate is equal to entry interest rate, cash flow is entry cash flow, present value is equal to present value plus cash flow divided by 1 plus I to the power r to the power year. Make sense? And what I want in result, that is to return present value. It will be outside my loop because I want just one single value. Make sense? So this is my model that I have created by the named as cash flow model, which is my class. Okay, the name of my model is project 2, and class I am using is cash flow model, which has 3 different methods by the name add entry, load data from Excel, calculate present value. Okay, and I have one attribute by the name data, which is initially it will be blank because it is in the constructor, which will automatically trigger whenever you create the object of any class. Okay, so I just said something very technical thing, but I have covered each and every single word that I said in my OOP basics. Let's trigger this. Nothing will happen. So you will see over here, now it is running, and that's it, done. Because we haven't done any calculation within this over here. This is just the model that I have created for myself. Okay, then I will import this model within my Jupyter notebook, and then let's try to trigger these functions over there. Let's create something. Let's take a look over there now. So how to import any model? So I will type from project 2, right? Let's say from project 2 import I have to type the name of class. Cash flow model. Make sense? You can even close it. Doesn't matter. But I want to refer it just to show you. That is why I have opened it. Otherwise, you don't even have to open it. So basically, as an actuarial programmer, you have created a cash flow model for your team. Okay. And you have a lot of different functionalities over there. You don't want the end user to go and make changes over there, but you have given a lot of different functionalities that someone can use. Trigger this. Okay. So if you check this cash flow model, you can see it is under the project. So if I try to, check the type, let's see whether it is visible something. No, nothing is visible. I was just checking. So from project 2, which is the name of the file, I am importing a class by the name cash flow model. Makes sense? Up to this point, it is clear. Now I will create a object. Let's call our object as Bell, best estimate liabilities, anything. I'm just creating the object. How to create an object of a class? So put the name of class, then this, trigger this. So now if you check this Bell, you can see that it is coming out from the cash flow model class. And if I type Bell dot and press tab, then you see these functions. So see how cool it is that you are creating your own functionalities within the Python. That is the beauty of object oriented programming. So you have a lot of functionalities available that you can add entry, calculate present value, data, load data from Excel. We all know about these functionalities. So let's say I will first of all load my data from Excel. Make sense? So I need the file path. Let's put this. Done. My model is now, my object Bell has now the Excel values. Now I want to use these Excel values to calculate my present value. Okay. Within that present value, I don't have to give anything. Everything is already been given. You see, when I created this calculate present value, I am not passing on any parameters because that has already been picked by this thing. Make sense? That is something already been picked over there, because when you trigger this, it will trigger this as well. Make sense? So what I will do now, let's go over there. You see the calculation that I did over there, a lot of calculation. You don't have to do anything at all. You have just created your model over there. Okay. The end user will just type these 3 lines and his results are ready. He or she will just import your module that you have created. Then he will create his object, right? Then you have the functionalities that you have provided as an actuarial programmer, load data from Excel and then just calculate the present value, and that's it. In just 3-4 lines, you have done the entire work which we were doing over there. In this class, in this model, I have just created calculate present values. But can you imagine the functionalities you have right now, that you can keep on creating as many things as you want? What exactly do you want with this data? For example, right now we will cover about in our next video, we will cover about how to include the functionality of sensitivity testing as well. That I will say that, okay, my cash flows have been increased by 10%. What will be its impact on my liability? My interest rates has been increased by 1% or 10%. What will be the impact of increase in interest rates on my liabilities? I can check all of these things by just creating my method over there, whereas the end user will just go and use the functionality. So that is the power of object oriented programming. I hope that you all enjoyed this session, and I will see you in the next one, and we will cover about the sensitivity testing and doc strings as well. So I will see you in the next video. Cheers, KS.